You're listening to the Astromommy Weekly Horoscope, a forecast that hopes to shine a light in the dark, helping us all see where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. Whether you're a first-time listener or a long-time subscriber, thanks for being here. I truly appreciate you being in the Astromommy community. I hope you enjoyed this week's horoscopes and card reading. If you would like to support the Astromommy newsletter, there are several ways to do so. Without further ado, here is the weekly horoscope. Third quarter moon, Neptune stations direct, and Venus opposes Jupiter, cutting through the fog of illusion. Weekly forecast for Tuesday, December 5th through Monday, December 11th, 2023. Good evening, friends. How was last week for you? Did you feel the energy shift over the weekend or when Venus ingressed into Scorpio on Monday? I certainly did. Changes and shifts in our intimate relationships or our values may have occurred and may have been noticeable. I have sprinkled in a little bit of tarot in this forecast in a few places where it just felt natural to seek the guidance of the cards. I hope you like it. I am not sure if it will be a new staple in the weekly forecast or not, but for this week it felt right. Okay, let's get into the astrology. All times are in Eastern Time unless mentioned otherwise. This week we have 4 transits that are taking place that will color the whole week. First, we start the week out with the moon in her last quarter phase on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, December 6th, Neptune stations direct. And on Saturday, Venus in Scorpio opposes Jupiter in Taurus retrograde. And finally, also on Saturday, the moon enters her balsamic phase as she wanes towards the new moon in Sagittarius on Tuesday, December 12th, 2023, which we will cover in next week's forecast. So we start the week off in crisis mode. Something has to shift and we have to take conscious action. This could be about something in our environment, circumstances, or on an emotional level that needs to adjust and realign itself toward our broader goals. The moon in Virgo is self-sufficient, and the sun in Sagittarius is concerned with the big picture. So we are making the necessary changes and strides towards a more self-reliant future. When Neptune stations direct, we could feel the energy shift from a more passive background hum to a much more audible and noticeable whir that enlightens our senses and our spiritual selves with some sort of call to destiny or reawakened spirit. Leading up to Wednesday could feel extremely foggy as Neptune is basically stopped and not moving, though. This coming weekend, Venus will oppose Jupiter retrograde and the moon will enter into her balsamic phase. So there is a compromise, shift, choice, or dilemma that we have to choose from that is hard because it is like choosing between 2 good things. Which good thing would be better? The immediate good thing or the long-term good thing? Couple this hard but good choice with the balsamic phase of the moon, and it's like we are letting go of and releasing something that we liked very much, had our hearts set on, and spent a great deal of time cultivating. But the new space that we are making by removing what is no longer of value to us is creating a fertile space for something new to be seeded and grow with the new moon next week. So even though it may be painful or bittersweet, it is ultimately very healing and positive for our futures. So I feel that this week is overall positive, but there may be some internal work ahead that we need to face with courage and a brave heart. This week reminds me of the 8 of Cups, leaving something behind that you've worked really hard on for a long time or invested a piece of yourself, but now it is time to move on. Let's pick a card for the overall theme for the week, the King of Cups. This card is about being a master of your emotions and riding the waves of feeling with a sense of calmness, wisdom, and grace that allows freedom, compassion, and love to flow freely. This week may be about being a source of emotional support for ourselves and others as we all make whatever transitions or changes we are making in our own lives. So let's talk about the moon this week. The moon starts the week out in the self-sufficient, practical, and motivated sign of Virgo and moves into the non-violent, tactful, and people-pleasing sign of Libra on Wednesday. She stays in Libra until Friday when she ingresses into Scorpio, her fall. The Scorpio moon is known for its intensity, depth of feeling, and seductiveness. The moon will stay in Scorpio all weekend and then move into the hopeful, free-spirited, and righteous sign of Sagittarius on Monday morning next week. So we are spending the majority of this week with the moon in Virgo and Scorpio. This can feel like we are meeting the challenges of this week head on with an attitude of getting into the nitty-gritty details of our emotions and trying to understand them on an intimate and psychoanalytical level. We may be asking ourselves why we are feeling the way we are feeling and where do these feelings originate from. We could also be focusing on our health this week, paying special attention to our physical bodies, including our digestion, elimination, and sexuality, and how all of these things tie tie into our moods and emotions. Sleep may be important to rejuvenate and recharge our batteries, as well as provide us with a safe place where we can put down the checklist and relax into the cradle of our unconscious. The overall card for this week for our emotional selves is 5, the Hierophant. The Hierophant represents the church, the law, and organized religion. It symbolizes faith in yourself, in your religion, or in your family. It also represents the teacher-student relationship and the concepts of learning and teaching. Have faith in that which you believe in and that which you know is looking out for you. Have faith that everything will work out for your highest good. This card represents to me that we could be experiencing certain emotional tests or challenges, but these tribulations will ultimately help us heal and grow as soulful beings. There is eternal wisdom residing in your cells that can bring a sense of peace and clarity and can be found through our breath via conscious relaxation or meditation. We don't need to go to any special place or be affiliated with any outside entity to connect with our inner wisdom, the creation energy, or the divine. It's there within us, always. This card is a reminder of that knowledge and an invitation to remember. Quote, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." Unquote. Rumi. Now we'll go over each day of the week and touch on the most important transits for that day. Tuesday, December 5th, 2023, the moon. Astrologer Anthony Lewis, in his book, The Art of Forecasting Using Solar Returns, describes the third quarter moon phase as, quote, "a time of crisis and disintegration, the need to engage in conscious action to reduce excess and to eliminate what is no longer needed to make room for fresh growth at the next new moon," unquote. This is the energy of today and of the whole week. We are taking action towards letting go of the things that are no longer working this month and making space for a new planting of ideas and intentions with the upcoming new moon next Tuesday. The moon will be in Virgo all day and perfects her third quarter square to the sun at 12:49 a.m. Eastern Time at 12 degrees Virgo 48 minutes. This is after the moon just had an opposition to Saturn early Monday morning, so there could have been a reality check or a hard stop that was felt in some direction that you were going, and now you are implementing the necessary changes to course correct, adjust, or recalibrate your emotions, environment, or life situation. The moon represents our feelings as well as our family life, finances, and general living environments, so these adjustments could be felt in our relationships, our bank accounts, and general surroundings. In the afternoon, the moon in Virgo will form a trine to Uranus and Taurus retrograde, symbolizing a sudden idea or surprise solution that comes in quickly and easily that indicates feeling more free, self-sufficient, and independent. The transits. Besides the third quarter phase of the moon, there are two important transits on Tuesday. The first is Venus in Scorpio forming a trine to Saturn in Pisces, and the second is the Sun in Sagittarius perfecting a semi-square to Pluto in Capricorn. These two transits are very different, so it's an interesting mix of energies at play. Let's break this down a bit. Venus is the goddess of love and represents our relationships, values, money, and pleasures in life. Saturn is Father Time and brings with him limitations, restrictions, regulations, and calcification, and oftentimes represents hard life lessons about responsibility, humility, and rules. The trine aspect in traditional astrology is of the nature of Jupiter and of perfect friendship. So Venus trine Saturn can represent easy, flowing, serious commitment in love, structures, boundaries, or limitations that support our values or that feel like a necessary sacrifice for love. The second transit, the Sun semi-square Pluto, is quite different. First, the Sun represents our spirit, the plotline of our lives, our ambitions, and our vitality. Pluto represents death and rebirth, transformation, and irrevocable change, forced initiation, and something coming out of the depths that we need to look at. The semi-square is an aspect that, according to Bernadette Brady in her book Predictive Astrology, The Eagle and the Lark, represents, quote, frustration of action that leads to a null result, unquote. So the Sun and Pluto are trying to accomplish an act of change, an adjustment to the plot line, or a tweak to our ambitions, but it's a bit premature and the doors are not quite open yet, so we receive a no or a not yet. Putting all of this together, it feels as if on Tuesday there are plenty of serious feelings and possibly a clearing out of the old to make way for the new. But just because we've cleared the garden space and decided where all the new seedlings are going to go, doesn't mean it's time to plant them yet, right? We can use the positive energy of Venus trine Saturn to make a commitment to what we value or to a relationship or relationship dynamic. Couple that with the third quarter phase of the moon to clear the space and know that the right timing will present itself if we are persistent yet patient with our intentions. Wednesday, December 6, 2023, the moon. The moon changes sign today, and therefore we could notice the underlying energy change as well. Wednesday starts with the moon in Virgo, making 2 last transits before she ingresses into Libra. First, in opposition to Neptune in Pisces at 1:16 a.m., who is literally stopped, about to station direct at 8:22 a.m., and second, the moon forms a trine to Pluto at 8:50 a.m. Emotionally, this could feel like we are being spiritually guided toward a choice or a decision that we feel called to make, and this emotional pull may be supported by the trine to Pluto in Capricorn, urging us to purge, cleanse, and grow emotionally. At 11:34 a.m., the moon ingresses into Libra, bringing out our diplomatic and agreeable sides. The moon in Libra wants to facilitate harmony, balance, and a sense of peaceful companionship. In the afternoon, the moon in Libra will form a quincunx to Saturn in Pisces, indicating that there are serious feelings, boundaries, or limitations that need to be incorporated into the mix somehow, and may require some adjustments. Things may feel different or look differently than you'd hoped for or planned. Late tonight, the moon perfects a square to Mercury in Capricorn, and so you may have to talk about it and have some heartfelt conversations about what you feel and how you can realistically show up. This could have to do with relationships, money, family life, career life, etc. The transits. The biggest transit of the day is that Neptune will station direct, as I said, at 8:22 a.m. But before that happens, Mercury in Capricorn makes a sesquiquadrate to Uranus in Taurus retrograde at 7:24 a.m. Mercury in Capricorn sesquiquadrate Uranus in Taurus retrograde means that something unusual or surprising may come into our minds, and we may take action on it and get it going, but we will come up against some friction or delays. Or we have already gotten something started and then a wrench gets thrown into our plans and there are setbacks. Neptune stations direct at 8:22 a.m. What I wrote about Neptune stationing direct last year in the newsletter titled True Colors Shining Through Neptune Stations Direct in Pisces is still very relevant, and so I want to revisit that post by quoting what I said here. Quote, Neptune was discovered in 1846 by Johann Galle and was named after the Roman god of the sea. Some interesting astronomical facts about Neptune are that it is an ice giant. It takes about 4 hours for sunlight to reach Neptune, as opposed to the 8 minutes it takes sunlight to reach Earth, and it has seasons just like Earth because it is tilted 28 degrees. The Earth is tilted 23.5 degrees. Another thing that I find fascinating about Neptune is that it has 14 known moons, of which the largest moon is called Triton, appropriately also named after a sea god in Greek mythology. In astrology, Neptune signifies positive things like spirituality, intuition, dreams, and imagination, and can also represent negative things like confusion, mental fog, feeling lost, dishonesty, and fraud. There is also this notion that Neptune acts like a universal solvent, dissolving the clear boundaries set up by Saturn. And if you just logically think about the ocean and how it is both teeming with life but also dangerous, I feel that it metaphorically represents Neptune so well. When a planet goes direct after being retrograde, it is a wonderful thing for that planet. The planet will now have the power to influence the world again. We could see more music, art, and theater that is imaginative and entertaining, but we might also see more division in the collective, as Neptune in Pisces historically has had the tendency to divide the people. Neptune was in Pisces during the Salem witch trials of 1692 through 1693, and also in the 1850s when there was a great divide between spiritualism and religion. Now we have Neptune in Pisces again from 2011 to 2026, and again we have a divide between belief systems brought on more acutely by events of the last few years. We find ourselves divided in our beliefs with our family and our peers. I am not going to go into this deeply here in my newsletter because I do not want to sow division between myself and my readers. But with Neptune's direct motion, I believe that these differences will come up again as we go through the holiday season. I feel that the division that Neptune historically creates in Pisces is a test. It tests one's compassion, one's heart, and one's true colors. I can only speak for myself, and that is to say that throughout the last few years I have repeatedly asked myself, how would I want to be treated? And I have repeatedly come upon the answer, with compassion and love. And that is how I have decided to behave, with compassion and love for my family, my friends, and my fellow men and women. I do not believe you can fight evil with more of the same evil, and unfortunately this is the logic that I see in the world right now, and in my opinion, it is faulty logic." Unquote. So this transit is a pretty big deal, and since Neptune stays in one sign for about 14 years, it will affect swaths of the population and the world at large more than individuals, unless Neptune is directly affecting a planet in your natal chart. Thursday, December 7th, 2023, the moon. The moon will be in Libra all day, and so there is an emphasis on harmony and balance in how we interact with other people. We may want to keep the peace in the moment by going with the flow and being generally pleasant and happy, but the reality is that we have to heal something today, and it could feel odd and uncomfortable, and we may not know how it all fits into the long-term plan, but we must trust the doors that are opening. This is because the moon will first form a quincunx to Jupiter in Taurus retrograde at 12:41 a.m., then a sextile to both Mars and the Sun in Sagittarius between 6:15 and 6:36 p.m., and finally the moon in Libra will oppose Chiron in Aries retrograde at 6:39 p.m. It reminds me of what my youngest daughter is going through right now with her eye therapy. She has amblyopia, which means that she has a lazy right eye, and in addition to wearing corrective glasses, the doctor has just prescribed that she wear a patch over her good eye for 6 hours each day. This has been a bit of a challenge, but by understanding what motivates my little quadruple Virgo, we are making some progress. She is rewarded with an eye patch chart and also with a little prize from my crystal collection. She needs these motivations in order to go through this very uncomfortable healing process. So the transits of the moon today are kind of like having to patch your good eye to strengthen your lazy eye. It's uncomfortable. You may feel like you look ridiculous, and you may need incentives to keep going. The transits. The Sun in Sagittarius forms a trine to Chiron in Aries retrograde today at 7:11 p.m., which is interesting because the moon is forming the opposition to Chiron. So whatever is being triggered emotionally, we know that it is for our highest good to work through it and heal our wounds and vulnerabilities. Mercury in Capricorn is perfecting a trine to Jupiter in Taurus retrograde at 11:08 p.m., and this is such a positive transit in that it represents having positive and helpful conversations, and benefits and blessings may come from mercurial activities like writing, speaking, singing, playing music, and communicating in general. We could receive some good news or experience abundance in our mental faculties, like having a lot of good ideas or sound judgment. Friday, December 8th, 2023, the moon. Today is a transition day where the moon moves from Libra into her fall in Scorpio. At 10:24 a.m., the Libra moon will conjoin the South Node, indicating an emotional release. The South Node indicates a place of decrease, release, and spiritual sacrifice or calling. So emotionally, we could feel a downward pull, a settling into, or a drowning sensation. One of the best things that one can do with this sensation is to surrender to one's emotions and allow them to flow through rather than get defensive and block the feelings. It may be a great time to journal or talk with a friend about how you are feeling. At 12:44 p.m., the moon in Libra will form a quincunx to Neptune, the first transit to Neptune since he stationed direct yesterday. This aspect speaks to feeling odd about something, trying to integrate a change or separation from someone or something that feels strange, surreal, or unbelievable. It's like trying to put two different genres of music together that don't normally blend well, but you have to integrate them somehow. It just makes a very weird piece of music. Or it is like letting something go, and the feelings of loss and disappointment are hard to swallow. Again, journaling or talking with family and friends may be helpful and supportive. Then at 1:31 p.m., the moon in Libra makes a semi-square to Mars in Sagittarius. So we are trying to keep everyone happy and getting along, but there's a little bit of friction and tension that comes about. Friday evening, the moon in Libra perfects a square to Pluto in Capricorn at 8:05 p.m., and then she ingresses into Scorpio 2.5 hours later at 10:34 p.m. The moon square Pluto sucks. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. It means deep feelings, and usually painful ones, coming up and needing to be heard, seen, and discussed. Thankfully, the Libran moon is tactful, diplomatic, and interested in hearing everyone's needs before making her decisions, so this could be productive even if it starts painfully. We end Friday with the moon ingressing into Scorpio, which brings in much more intensity, depth of emotions, desires, penetrating thoughts and feelings, and these could border on obsessive. The moon in Scorpio is cautious, doesn't trust easily, and doesn't take things at face value. There's always more to uncover. What feelings and truths are hidden underneath the hard exterior? The scorpion is the symbol for Scorpio, and it represents having a hard outer exoskeleton and soft insides, and so does the Scorpio moon. She may seem hard, edgy, tough, and rough, but underneath she is easily wounded. This could feel a bit like taking a plunge into the emotion ocean. In the post, Time to Take a Walk on the Bottom of the Ocean, I broke the Scorpio moon energy down like this, quote, "The moon is in fall in Scorpio, and that means that it's time to take a trip through the emotion ocean. I think of the water sign moons as travelers of what I call the emotion ocean, and each element has a different way of crossing the ocean of emotions. The earth signs have wooden ships that they can use to sail across. This gives them the luxury of looking at the beautiful water, but they don't have to touch it. The fire signs dance across the tops of the waves like lightning in a storm, creating steam and a dazzling show that you can't ignore and that can also get scary at times. The air signs fly high above the waves, detached and carefree, catching the chitter-chatter of the birds as they swoop by and the laughter that bubbles up from the froth. The water signs are in the water. The water signs have to swim through the waves to get anywhere, and oftentimes they have to sink all the way down to the bottom of the emotion ocean and make their journey from there, at the bottom. Walking in the ocean is hard work. The pressure from the water creates strong resistance, and the currents can push, pull, suck, and spin you all around. It can be really confusing. It can be really dark and scary. It can also be beautiful. Sometimes the ocean is shallow, and we can see the circle of light that marks the surface, helping to guide us along. But other times the ocean is so deep that all we see is darkness surrounding us, and we have to use our intuition to guide us through. When the moon is in her fall, we are at the bottom of the ocean, pushing against the current and the strong forces that wish to spin us into chaos. There is fear here, and that's why sometimes it's easier to hide, like a scorpion hides under a rock, than to power through with courage. The Scorpio moon is vulnerable and therefore defensive and protective." Unquote. The transits. There are no major transits on Friday. The weekend. Saturday, December 9th, 2023. The moon. The moon is in Scorpio all weekend, so the energy could be intense and passionate. On Saturday, the moon will form one aspect, a trine to Saturn, before she makes a semi-square to the sun and enters her balsamic phase. The trine to Saturn is positive and means we may feel emotionally stable and secure, or at least like we are being supported by the structures in our lives. She enters the balsamic phase, the dark moon phase, at 2:16 a.m. when she is 45 degrees away from where she will join the sun for the new moon on Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. The balsamic phase of the moon marks a time of release. We must clear out the old things in our lives that are no longer serving us to make room for the seeds of the new moon. At 9:23 a.m., the moon in Scorpio conjoins Venus in Scorpio, and this may bring more love, joy, and general happiness. Although the moon is in her fall and Venus is in her detriment in Scorpio, this transit will still bring in some good fortune, and it may be passionate, intense, and loving. It could also signify desperation in love or obsessive thoughts towards a relationship or a lover. Emotionally, we could be very focused, driven, and inspired. At 10:41 a.m., the moon in Scorpio opposes Jupiter in Taurus retrograde, which means that there is a decision or a dilemma between your circumstances or what you feel and the big picture or your beliefs and attitudes about something. A compromise or a choice will need to be made today that moves things along. Then at 12:46 p.m., the moon forms a sextile to Mercury in Capricorn, so there is the possibility for good communications, positive talks, and agreements. Things are on the table, maybe even your heart, and it's time to talk about it. The transits. Late in the evening at 10:34 p.m., Venus in Scorpio opposes Jupiter in Taurus retrograde, which symbolizes too much of a good thing, overspending, or exaggerated feelings. Venus in Scorpio wants to feel the depths of a relationship and all the juicy and messy parts of love, and Jupiter in Taurus wants to expand the pleasure centers, open up all the chakras, and bring in abundant fertility. Put these two together and you have a very physical, raw, passionate, real, and deep decision to make about love, relationships, your values, your money versus your beliefs, your sense of what is right and just, and philosophies on union. Scorpio deals with what we want and desire, but do not have right now. And Taurus deals with what we already have, possess, or own. So there is this duality between the two, between desire and possession. Add Venus and Jupiter, the two benefics, into it, and we are having to decide between two pretty good things. It could feel like getting a bit too excited or eager or feeling very over the top. And then when the transit subsides, it's like a bubble has been popped, burst, or punctured. We must come down, and it's not always enjoyable, and quite often it is disappointing. So there's the feeling of expecting things to be super amazing and being let down a bit after the fact. Sunday, December 10th, 2023. The moon. Again, the moon is in Scorpio, and the energy may still be intense and broody. At 12:03 p.m., the moon opposes Uranus in Taurus retrograde, symbolizing a sudden or unexpected need for freedom, liberation, or revolution to well up inside. It's like a lake getting too full for the dam and running over the edge. Something's got to give with this transit, and it's probably going to be emotional, dramatic, and a bit stormy. At 5:34 p.m., the moon forms a semi-square to Mercury in Capricorn, indicating that communications may not go on as easily as normal, and there could be stress and tension when we speak to people. We could be hoping for a yes, but receive a no. It could be something mundane or something fairly personal. Either way, it's a bit frustrating. In the evening at 8:58 p.m., the moon in Scorpio perfects a trine to Neptune in Pisces, and this is a feel-good transit and can represent more compassionate acts of kindness, musicality, being able to work with an illusion, or effectively use use props. This transition makes me think of theater productions and that elated feeling when you perform a show that has little or no mistakes. It's exciting and gets you all revved up, so we can expect an underlying feeling of flow and harmony on Sunday night. The transits. There are no major transits on Sunday. Next week, Monday, December 11th, 2023, the moon. The moon will move from moody Scorpio to hopeful Sagittarius at 6:10 a.m. Before the ingress, though, she first needs to form a sextile to Pluto and Capricorn, indicating that a major cleanse is on the horizon. It's like receiving an intuitive hit that now is the time to take all of the items you've collected in your donate box to the thrift store and drop them off. It feels good to let go of whatever clutter you've been carrying around in your heart. After she ingresses into the sign of the Archer, she forms a square to Saturn at 9:13 a.m. This is a reality check moment and a hard stop or hard action that needs to be taken. This transit every month is usually difficult and feels melancholic, isolating, and a bit depressing. Something in your life may end or transform its relationship with you. There could be a restructuring of your environment or circumstances. At 5:15 p.m., the moon in Sagittarius perfects a quincunx to Jupiter in Taurus retrograde, symbolizing changing your belief about something in an odd way. Earlier in the week, the moon made a quincunx to Jupiter when she was in Libra, and now she is in Sagittarius, making the same aspect, so it is very similar, but also very different. Before, you were trying to keep the peace, and you may have stuffed your emotions down to do so. But now you are trying to figure out how the truth fits into the big picture, or your long-term goals, and it is less about pleasing others and more about identifying your authentic truth that you can stand behind with complete integrity. The transits. Mercury in Capricorn will make a sextile to Venus in Scorpio, meaning that love is once again on your mind. Also, art, music, merriment, poetry, games, pleasure, good communication, conversations, and pleasant interactions with people. This is a great transit that may smooth over the moon quincunx Jupiter energy quite well, so that even though you are doing some self-reflection and being a little bit more self-focused right now, you are not being a complete ass. The tarot spread. Let's move on to a 3-card spread for the week representing the opportunity, challenge, and outcome. The first card representing the opportunity is 12, the Hanged Man, reversed. On this card, in the reversed position, we see a man who looks like he is upright, but really he's hanging from his leg, which is bound to a tree. If we look at this card in the upright position, we can start to figure out what it means. In the upright position, pictured below, we see a man hanging upside down from a wooden cross. The man in this position is looking at the world from a completely different point of view, and he looks rather calm and serene. His right foot, representing his logical side, is bound to the tree, and his left foot, which represents his intuition, is crossing his right leg, forming a cross. The cross represents matter. His hands are behind his back, and together with his head form an inverted triangle, which is the alchemical symbol for water, and water represents intuition and emotions. In the upright position, the Hanged Man is about surrendering, taking a pause, or looking at your situation from a new perspective. This is interesting because we had the Hanged Man upright last week in one of our daily check-ins, and it went together nicely with Venus's conjunction with the South Node, representing a letting go of expectations. But in the reverse position, the Hanged Man can indicate that you may experience some delays along the way, or you may be resisting the inevitable change that is coming. You could be feeling very indecisive and doing things that actually hinder your progress. This may tie in nicely with the moon in Libra this week, as the moon approaches her conjunction with the South Node and square to Pluto. It's like the moon knows that a big emotional transformation is coming, but she is ignoring it or resisting it in some way, or sugarcoating the whole situation so that she doesn't have to go through it deeply right now. As the card represents the opportunity, maybe this delay or resistance isn't such a bad thing, but is giving you the necessary time that you need to process whatever it is that you are having to surrender to. It could also be providing you this space to fully let go of something. The second card representing the challenge is Ace of Pentacles. On this card, we see white lilies holding up a gold coin. Beyond the coin are distant yellow clouds and a pink sky. In the upright position, the Ace of Pentacles means that you have a profitable idea and a new path is laid out before you, new beginnings in the material world. So the challenge could be that you have a new financial or career opportunity coming up, and that may cause some stress in your personal life. It could be an opportunity that you want to take, and therefore the challenge is a period of adjustment to the new routine. Or since this card is crossing the Hanged Man reversed, maybe you wanted the opportunity to look a certain way, and now you are accepting the reality of how it is manifesting. And the third card representing the outcome is Queen of Cups. On this card, we see a crowned queen sitting on her throne by the sea. Her throne is adorned with an angel-shaped armrest. Her cup has hearts on it, meaning that her emotional guidance comes from within. The sea to her right is a bit choppy, and the sky is bright blue with white clouds. In the upright position, the Queen of Cups represents a mature woman who is compassionate, emotionally secure, trusts her intuition, and cares deeply about people. She is able to hold space for others and their many emotional expressions, but she maintains her own boundaries. As this card depicts the outcome, I feel this means that once we have solved our challenge, we will be like the Queen of Cups, calm, nurturing, and secure in our feelings. So to recap, the opportunity is actually that we are delayed somehow or that we are resisting the inevitable, but somehow this resistance or delay is important or is meant to be. The challenge is that we have a material opportunity coming up, an advancement at work or school, or financially that we have to figure out how to incorporate because it may look different than expected. The outcome is that we handle it beautifully with grace and ease, and in the end feel secure in our feelings. What are your thoughts? In conclusion, for the weekly forecast, I would love to share with you a video from my teacher Adam Ellenboss on Venus and Scorpio that may be helpful as we navigate this emotional week ahead. Please let me know what you think about the weekly horoscope in the comments. I truly appreciate your feedback. I hope this is helpful. Until tomorrow, Astro Mummy. Thank you for reading or listening to the weekly horoscope. Quick links and resources can be found at the bottom of the newsletter. Today's cards were pulled from the Hanson-Roberts Tarot deck available on Amazon. If you seek knowledge and enlightenment, the Astro Mummy newsletter may be right for you. Side effects of reading or listening to the Astro Mummy newsletter are common and include joy, jubilation, delight, happiness, gratitude, love, triumph, feeling in tune with the universe, experiencing deep insights, reflections, and contemplations, a lightened soul, a lighter step, feeling awake when others are asleep, illuminated, enlightened, having spiritual experiences, noticing repeating numbers, animals in nature, or songs on the radio that speak to you, getting vibes, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsmelliance, feeling like you know secret language, biophilia, crying tears of joy, emotional literacy, feeling lively, stable, exalted, having an auric glow, or feeling like you woke up on the right side of the bed have all been reported. If you purchase anything through the affiliate links that I provide in the newsletters, I will make a very small commission. Thanks for listening.